Newport Art House. Thank you, Harold, for all your help. And I'm Joyce Jenkins. I'm editor and director of Poetry Flash. And welcome to the Poetry Flash reading series. We are absolutely delighted today to present Geraldine Connolly reading from her new collection, Instructions at Sunset, and Dion O'Reilly, Limerence. They are both wonderful poets, and it's a great pleasure to have them with us here today. We have their books for purchase after the reading. Copies of Instructions of Sunset are also available at bookshop.org/shop/poetryflash if you want to get it later and don't want to get it from Amazon. Video of this event and all of our readings are posted on our Poetry Flash YouTube channel. And if you haven't checked it out, you might. You just do a search for Poetry Flash and on YouTube, and it'll come right up. To join our email event list, see poetryflash.org or sign up here on our analog clipboard. No digital frustration. Check out poetryflash.org for reviews and future events. And thankfully, we're starting to get rolling again after a whole bunch of deadlines and the holidays. And a new wave of content will appear very soon. So check it out. If you donated in our recent fundraising campaign, I just want to thank you, thank you, thank you. We are deeply grateful for any support, especially this year, the way things have turned out. We do truly appreciate your help to keep this part of our community going. And I think the best thing we can do for all of us and our whole country is to keep our community going. To visit our donation page, go to poetryflash.org/give. So, and thanks to Stephen Banza and Rosalinda Monroy for their help today. Our first reader is Dion O'Reilly, and her newest book is Limerence, finalist for the Floating Bridge John Pierce Chapbook Competition for Washington State Poets. She divides her time between the Santa Cruz Mountains and Bellingham, Washington. Her previous books are Sadness of the Apex Predator and Ghost Dogs, both extraordinary books. Winner of the Ghost Dogs was winner of the Independent Press Award for Poetry, Dragonfly Award for Poetry, and more. Denise Duhamel said, O'Reilly's Sadness of the Apex Predator is a tour de force with urgent poems that address the perilous present and the past that's gotten us here. She writes astonishing poems of her personal history of severe abuse and the world's history of severe abuse. She even contemplates poets taking a break from our ruined selves in favor of our ruined country. These are wonderful and necessary poems. Her work has appeared in many magazines you know, Rattle, Missouri Review, The Sun. Her work was chosen recently as a winner of the 17th Annual Narrative Poetry Prize. She's a podcaster at the Hive Poetry Collective. She's a private workshop facilitator and co-editor of InTrance Journal. Please welcome Dion O'Reilly.
Hello, everyone. Let's see, how does this mic like to be treated? Is that about right? Okay. All right, I'm going to start with some brand new poems. Unpublished, like written in the last week. This one is called Ice.
All right.
Ice. found your perfect name, your perfect style. Armed, armored, camouflaged, masked. A subtle tug of your finger, the godlike one that sparks life, and you blast a beating heart to blood and silence. Such sorcery to point pain away. Place it on another. For a second, all your suffering stops. Like the rest of us, you dropped onto this hurtling planet with your own beauties. Perhaps you felt them, Iceman, faceted inside you, cherished beliefs in what you should have. But life fails us. Perhaps we all, from time to time, know what unwanted infants know, left on a hillside, crying till they die. But you, Iceman, you rose from common desolation, searched neighborhoods for those you say were favored, who robbed you of your rightful place. Who cares the unseen art inside you? You got Glock. You got Kevlar. You're giant. Fit as a rhino. You could kill a rhino, and you would. There's a poet in your way. She's pink as a newborn. Bright as the one star that heats this planet. Such warmth, Iceman. Of course you're terrified. So in Bellingham, I have a friend who, she's a woman, but she used to be a man. And she told me a story, kind of blew my mind. It was kind of like the education of Dion, of what it's like to live that way. And this is the story. Blanket. I keep thinking what I'd do if I were locked out my condo in my pajamas. What I'd do in thin cotton, 40 degrees, mercury dropping, with only a phone and cold skin. And what if I weren't me? What if I were a brand new woman who was once a man, or thought he was, she was? No time now to think of the way time and pronouns get rubbery when one's tranced. No time because the mind freezes and races. When only yesterday, was it yesterday? November, right before she was locked out, more than half the land agreed on a man who hates her. A man so cold it makes her colder. So cold he turns people to ice, forms them into small icy gods who hunt the icy streets with icy eyes and icy glocks. And there she is, locked out without a blanket, feet bare, nothing but hair to keep her brain safe. Time, not exactly passing, more like pummeling, plummeting, which happens when fear and cold converge. And, well, truth is, I'm inside my cozy condo thinking about it. I've never been kept up till dawn by a rager on election night. Begged the party to go away, then, soon after, knowing what the world had become, somehow shut myself in its icebox. My mind's never stalled like the Texas power grid, cold caught by snow. My body never told me I was burning when I was freezing. I've never stripped down to the suit God gave me, or the new pussy God's medicine made me. Never been chased by cops. Caught, beaten, handcuffs razored into flesh, stuck in the back seat of a black and white when I needed was a soft gray blanket. Fleece, one of those fabrics made from petroleum, cheap as Vaseline, but feels like Angora. A human hand to wrap it round, an arm lingering, embrace with a blanket. Embrace, which means to be pulled into another's arms. I wish I could drive an elastic pathway back to the girl who was thrown into a psych ward and barely got out. I wish I could hand her a blanket. She was, after all, a newborn, naked, losing it for a blanket. A blanket. Is that so hard to understand? Give her a goddamn blanket. These are still new ones. Origin of crows. I'm obsessed with crows. I think a lot of poets are, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of ravens and all those. Origin of crows. Forgive me if I speak of it again. The legend of their genesis. Part crocodile, part chicken. Fear teaching them to take their way skyward, bring black to the clouds. Or the myths, a witch's familiar, companion of gods, riding wind as they grip thoughts in their claws, lay them like rubies in Odin's imperial hand, so he can choose again and again who suffers, who dies. We see them screaming some old language in a blown-out tree, or in lines of down-valley flight, bound for trouble, their voices clawed and scraping, almost legible, like they could live on our shoulders, shit on our shirts, pick jewels from our hair. Maybe it matters they savor the dead, suck eyes out of hatchlings, steal brass off a corpse's chest. There they are, pieces of night, flip side of light, everything occult or forgotten, not just soaring together, soulmates, bonded accomplices, getaway drivers on the way to the bank. So many of our acts are unpardonable, and our drives and longings have, as our detractors warned, returned to the nighttime roosts of self-hate and decline. But the crows, they're laughing, forever dressed in their best midnight finery. They revel in carnage, hoppy dance to sin. They're so good at being bad. This is the last of the new ones. Those of you who have read my books, or who know me, know about my mother. And this was written the day after she'd finally died at 98, almost 99. The river, the best part is where it bends, so we can dive into pools where the big fish hide. Or the best part is the dead crawdad my grandson picks up and animates with his voice and mind, making the pincers speaking lips. Or maybe it's how cool in late summer, how cool under birches in the deep green water the day my mother, nearly 100, finally dies. All of us escape once again to the river, which is the same as it always was. Take me to the river, I sing over and over. For the same reason the song was sung in the first place, the same reason we return to the deep spots where water hits rock and has no more choice but to move on in a new direction. Rock me in the water. Okay. So now we're going to go on a little tour through my books. My first one was Ghost Dogs, and it's kind of the runt of the litter. because it came out on February 2020, and I never did any readings for it. It didn't get the play it deserved, I don't think, with Ghost Dogs. Ghost Dogs is about animals in my life. That's a theme that runs through it, and the way they supported me, and the way they were treated, the way I was on that ranch where I grew up. We were sort of companions in the life of the ranch. So this one is not about a dog, it's about a pig. Why did I call my pig? I watched my mother call her, watched my sister too. My father tried to catch her. She was quick, my piebald oinker. Her squeals greased the air. She knew the jig was up, ran to the furthest corner down by the creek and the steep ravine, hid in shadows under oak trees, rooting prickled leaves and acorns with her wet, ringed snout. My huge baby companion on aimless teenage days when I balanced on the fence post, listening to her belly-deep rumble, stick scratched her itchy, thick-skinned back. The butcher with a rifle stood impatient by his Chevy truck, its hook and chain ready to haul the limp sow up, to scrape the skin and slice the stomach in a thin red line, bowels spilling glazy as moonstones. Forgive me to show off my small power, I called her, the one she loved, and she came running. Oh God, ugh. So tragic. We glamorize farm life, but yeah, I mean, it's got its good things. So yeah, I'm going to tell you about a good thing now. Chestnut Mare. I have no reason to walk to the pasture anymore, to stand at the gate calling her name, see her head swing up, hear her nicker from wide nostrils as she gallops toward me, her thoroughbred muscles precise and angular with a machine's strength churning beneath her glowing coat. To grab a handful of mane, swing onto her back, lie face up, my legs dangling along her ribs while she drifts, without my knowing where, with her own lazy purpose, out the gate, eating clover and yellow vetch, milk thistle and barley, down to the full-flowing river, my body becoming the sound of her big teeth cutting grass, her fur musk like dusty alfalfa, my life, her steady gait moving on some unknowable path. So those are two from Ghost Dogs, and now we're going to go into this one. Sadness of the Apex Predator. There's a few poems in sadness about when I was 19, I was in a house fire. And I burned off 80% of my skin, 60% third degree. I had 20 surgeries in 3 months, and hopped back out of it into life. Therapy wasn't a thing back then, but I had plenty later on. Okay. And one thing you've got to do when you're burned is have is stay clean. They got to keep you clean. The man who bathed me in the burn ward was middle-aged and patient as a vulture. And what was I? A teenager, becoming something else, remnant of a burnt-out house, uncured meat, blood fragment of a butchered bird. He pulled me from my sticky bed each day. No, twice a day. He was my morning and night man, lumbering lumberjack of a man, moon-faced man with an unshaved neck, wide-girthed man with careful hands. He made me grateful for him, tested the water tepid to the wrist, shorted the chlorine for me, that alkaline wire in the water, piranhas on the back skin, razors peeling it. He mixed it first so it didn't whip when it hit, lowered me gentle into a robe of pain, plush pain, warm reminder of that other burning pain. He cleaned me slow, didn't seem to mind my screams as he debrided the collops and green clots. His nemesis was the hungry sepsis that ate me. Why did it feel like love? I was the buoyant creature of his hand, strapping ranch girl who wasted and healed, whose skin sucked life from bones and fat to lace the corset of flesh. The grafts took, skin fragile as a winged thing curtained down my back. And when I lay naked in the final water, he looked at me like a tidbit, told me he'd fixed me up like a fat farm, asked me to the movies. What was he thinking? Did he think I'd want him now that I was whole? Awkward moment. The other guy looked at him like he was insane. I'll never forget the look on the other guy's face. Okay, and this is another one from Thanos of the Apex Predator. It's called How to Dress Wounds. Insist on entering cathedrals. The window colors sliding through flesh. Feel them, clockless. The centuries laboring toward God, filling you like breath. Remember, what happens slowly. Listen to something small as a butterfly shivering the back of your skull. Look at your unmanageable body as the plant sees the sun. Complete devotion. Day after day, drag yourself to the same altar. Drink and eat as best you can. Forgive the imperfections on the skin of fruits, the unblessed meat. Awaken to light moving through curtains. Sleep the way horses canter through dark trees, riderless, until they forget their horses. Okay, so this is from Limerence, the third book. And limerence is an obsession with an unavailable love object, and it goes in 3 stages: infatuation, crystallization, and deterioration. And the book is divided into those 3 phases. And I can't remember what section this poem is from, but it's a true story. I used to work at a coffee shop on 15th Avenue in Capitol Hill in Seattle, and we made our own ice cream there in the basement at night. And there were 2 older people that worked there. By that I mean they were 30 years old. And they were both married, and and I had kids, and we really looked up to them as the grown-ups of the group. And the two of them, they were both married to other people. They were both assigned to make ice cream together one night. And this is the story of what happened. Making ice cream at midnight at the Cause Celeb Cafe. Fish and Annette, husband and wife, to other people, steeped Liberty Cap mushrooms, drank the brew, made love on the concrete floor. The air rippled and bloomed. Spaces between thoughts filled with skin, breath, the pattern of pores, jasmine scent, and something darker like amber. Suddenly, a skitter of claws, animal whimpers. The air matrixed. Oxygen sucked away. There were tiny beings in the ice cream mix. Annette and Fish decanted the syrup fat to the floor. Naked, they waded and splashed. Creatures rose like thistledown, popped in sparkles. Annette and Fish could feel like soft orgasms. Still naked, they ran into the rain, disappeared for years. 2 decades later at the Buckaroo, I met Annette again. She wanted to tell me about that night. As she spoke, the air quivered. I heard the sob inside the sweet, the urge to wreck everything and set those creatures free. One more from Limerence. This morning, a coyote paced across our path, laughing at us, light as a ghost, pink tongue resting on his teeth. My terrier lost her mind, chased him to the rocky bottomlands. I couldn't follow, could only hear her scream. Vultures tilting above me. I covered my ears with my palms, turned away, ran home. An hour later, she returned, limping, riddled with burrs and punctures. Isn't the well-worn trail enough? It loops around the meadow, prick of birdsong, live oaks stripping like metronomes, ancient pines swimming in mist. I look back at my house. Its red paint looks joyous. Am I happy? I gave up predators long ago, although one left a tooth in the tender skin of my neck. Oh, stupid dog, I'll never blame you. Always seeking distractions in the fabulous stink of pheromones. Will I meet him again in a brick-walled espresso house, an Al-Anon meeting, smoking under a gargoyle outside a wax museum? I want more of his presence, envelopes made of $10 bills, thumb-sized books of mystic poetry, a sketch of a Mobius strip, twisted for infinity. But he escapes, down the slot canyon. Stay, Dion, don't follow. And here's some newish published ones. And not many more, we're almost done. Ringo Starr, y'all know who Ringo Starr is? I actually read at a university, and there were a bunch of people who did. I know, it seems amazing. Ringo Starr, you weren't the one I loved. I must confess. I didn't have the depth yet. It was Paul, of course. His droopy eyes and putty lips, baby-like, unthreatening despite the then brutal sexiness of the songs. When I thought I'd grown up, I loved John, genius rebel. Loved how dismissive he was, naked with his thick-haired wife for weeks, legs and arms wrapped around her, posed for Leibovitz like a suckling pig. I loved how he'd make a scene, but then, when I busted through my anger, thought I'd found something like a third eye, it was George, the soulful one I adored, the one whose guitar gently wept. Oh, the many faces of a false god, fragments of a false self, everything I wanted. Paul Pretty, John Smart, George the Seeker. Ovid said, the cause is hidden, the effect is visible. So now, Ringo, you're looking better. Sticks as quick as a sylph's flickering wings, invisible till we wake up to the impossible source of it all. Not you, of course, but you were the closest. Offbeat mystery I barely noticed. Inverse glamour. Southpaw of darkness in a right-hand world. Alive with a trick rhythm. You did your best with the kit you were given. So now when I hear your lacy pattern bring, come together, those other sweet boys, they're waves. But you're the ocean under. I forgot to say that he was left-handed. Did you ever know that? No. He was left-handed, but he used a right-hand kit, and that's why he had such an unusual drumming style. It was very unique. Okay, I'm just going to skip this one. I have another luscious one about Soquel Creek, but I'm going to skip it because I know it gets tiresome. No matter how good you are, it gets tiresome to keep listening to poems. Let's see, shall I do a luscious one about Soquel Creek? Or I guess I'll do this one. Okay. What?
I said you could do it.
You could do both?
I'm sure.
It's
up to you.
I always when I hear people go, I've just got 2 left. Shall I do more than that? And people go, yeah, but I'm always thinking, no. You should probably stop. You know what I mean? Oh, God. Okay. So I'll just do this one and not the 2, even though it's hard, because I would like to just stand here and read my entire opus. There's nothing more fun than reading my poetry. Okay, so there's another true story from my years as a waitress. Why I write. Years ago, when I worked as a waitress, a man at table 2 wanted to wash my aura. I brought him home, let him caress my halo, his fingers moving mere inches from my hair, my young face, my bare feet. Here's a pesky customer, he said, flicked his wrist, and I felt a mustached annoyance flung from my thoughts, flipped to the floor, the sound like a penny clink on sidewalk. A tiny copper face with surprised lips spun for a second, then slipped through an unseen crack. Here's a bed-sized spider, he said. No, it's your mother. And he mimed yanking a rope straight from my chest, like an abscessed tooth wrenched with pliers, a desperate lump with many arms flicked on the floor, pooled into an oily puddle, evaporated. The room lit, spacious and empty. Dust bunnies scampered into thin air. Tired mementos turned to silver white clouds, sucked away. The fridge stopped humming. Birdsong conquered the quiet. Now, he said, you keep that wound clean. Everything else too. Your closet, your memories, your mind, because she'll be back. That's lots of them. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you for however many years of hard work.
Dion's reading for Ghost Dogs was the first reading that we had to cancel, the Poetry Flash had to cancel because of COVID. So that was very painful, and I've never forgotten it. We've been trying to get her to read ever since. I mean, she's wanted to, but just trying to make everything work and come together.
With Meryl Natchez.
Yes, yeah. With Meryl Natchez. Yeah. Exactly. Those memories, painful memories. We are absolutely delighted to have Geraldine Connolly here. She's recently moved here to Alameda from Tucson, Arizona, and it's a delight to have her here in the Bay Area. Her new poetry book is Instructions at Sunset. Elaine Terranova says, Connolly is a poet who dwells in nature. She examines the world through the magnifying glass of observation and the lens of imagination. In awe of the crystal acts of winter, she thrills to two red foxes, their tails on fire. Mm-hmm. The sun blazes through these poems, highlighting the small miracles that grab the poet's attention. The lake where minnows shuddered under the water, the desert with its brown crust, and the forest with its sky the color of bruised doves. Connolly has published 5 previous poetry collections. She's taught at the Writers Center in Maryland, the University of Arizona Poetry Center, and more, and has been awarded fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts. Not an easy feat. Maryland Arts Council and Breadloaf Writers Conference. Her work has appeared in Poetry, the Gettysburg Review, Georgia Review, and Poetry Ireland Review. And it's been anthologized widely in Poetry 180, a poem a day for high school students, a Constellation of Kisses, and the Sonoran Desert, a field guide. I'd like to read that one. Please welcome Jerry Connolly. Thank you.
I'm trying to get Siri to set a buzzer, but she will not listen to me. Hey Siri. Hey Siri.
Do you want me to do one?
She's yeah. Thank you. I have this new Apple Watch, and it's always sending me weird messages, and it buzzes and says, "You've reached your goals."
So a half an hour.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be reading here with Dion today. I admire her brave, fierce poems. We have the same publisher, Terrapin Books, for her Ghost Dogs and my last 2 books. I almost said children. Thanks. So this new book is just out in September, and I'll read mostly from that today. But I will start with a January poem called Chinook, and it's set in Montana. Chinook is a warm wind that comes in the middle of winter, and it can change the temperature from 25 below zero to 35 above zero in the matter of a few hours. Chinook. Come January, let winter unweave its wreath of departures. The cold cup of morning emptied, a warm wind arrives at my door. Each afternoon, sunlit work begins its solitary melt through the snowbanks. Past the white steam of the cove, a bevy of geese unlatch from the lake. Give me the young stag mounting his mate, the first crack of release in the ice-encrusted shore. Give me a hot wind stirring the soft beds of pine needles and moss. A chinook waking the eagle from his nest in the tall snag next to the dirt road. He takes off to survey his kingdom, where beneath the thick waves, each fish stirs and rises toward his urgent cry. Grief's Panther. It's about my father's passing. Grief's Panther. Galvanized black, it lay, blurred, lithe, then pounced from a boulder to knock me so flat I could barely stand. My father was dead. If I spoke, it would have been a moan or a howl. If I hurried, the panther would not quit, would run faster. Go slow, I said to myself. Go slow and ragged. Twist with change, breath that expands and contracts. Its claws grew longer against things as they were, rushed and stumbling, the fur of the beast matted. This is my poem about eccentrics. I was thinking of Diane Arbus' photographs, and it's called Above the Dull and Spiritless World. Sits a woman who made doors for the squirrels, the man who fed steak to rattlesnakes, the hostess who served dessert as a first course, surrounded by statues of beribboned lambs, the painter who wore a priest's collar and donated his forgeries to the best museums, a Dolly Parton look-alike in a flagged t-shirt and striped leggings wonders the safe way. That Harley-Davidson rider places his tiny chihuahua on the handlebars in a tiny vest, wearing goggles. Even if you grow a beard down to your knees, or dress your dogs in tuxedos for dinner, even if you wear a paper Burger King crown and proclaim yourself the emperor, I cherish you, eccentrics of the world. Nothing dull, drab, or lifeless lives in your domain. You have taken your difference and treasured it like a newborn. You have waved it like a proud banner above the bored and spiritless of the world. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I lived in a little Cape Cod house, and in my room on the second floor was a little tiny dormer room with slanted walls. The room I had as a girl. I treasured that tiny dormer room. When I opened the window, my hair blew into the night and across the yard above the howls of beagles. As the moon splintered, the wind creaked. Insects spoke to me. Birds knew my name. Beneath a wool blanket, my flashlight shone, lantern by which I read through the night, hungry for stories. There was no broken glass, no tanks, no coffins, no boys going off to war. I loved being snug in that room while outside wild onions grew among prickly fir trees, briar roses. The rumbling of trucks from the interstate echoed. Cooing doves, everyday birds, made their daily music on the patio, rinsed with rain. Nothing sparkled, yet nothing was dim. There in the tangled paradise, my own, not yet a death, not yet a funeral, where daffodils rose up like lions. Oh, we all remember our favorite teachers, right? Yeah. I remember Miss York. I wrote this poem for her. She was my favorite. I particularly liked her, especially after our stern harpy of a first grade teacher who wore dark dresses and heavy black shoes and stockings and was very mean-spirited. Miss York. She's a barfly, a real slut, hissed my mother, noting Miss York's nightly pickups of drunk men at the Jacktown bar. But all I saw the next morning was my lovely second grade teacher with a halo of silver blonde hair, wearing a pale mauve sweater made of some soft yarn like Angora, wishing us all a good morning and a hand clasp. We could sit on her lap. She would trail her fingers over the locks of our hair, tickle us under the arm until we laughed out loud. She was our Aphrodite, having risen from the sea foam to grace our classroom in a human form. When I think of her, she was dressed as if for a party, in a white and gold sheath, her ears adorned with golden hoops. She sat on top of her desk to face us, dangled her long, slim legs in silk stockings, her nails enameled with paint the town pink. The scent she carried of roses and chalk dust pleased us. She would pull out a compact and powder her nose, sway her hips as she walked us out to the playground. She called me sweetie. Okay, this is the first poem I'll read that's set in California, and it was right after the pandemic, the first gathering. After the pandemic, there were some poets. Lucy, you were there, remember? Okay, the first gathering. We look up from our wine glasses and notice the shadow of a sharp-shinned hawk near orange blossoms hung from the swag of leaves, a table covered in green oilcloth with hibiscus, and a baby on her knees on the deck pushing a toy and making soft noises. Our laughter above platters of meze warm in the sun, stripes of sunlight, and then shadow across the table as we notice the dark mass hung from its claws, the round furred body and the tail swaying as the hawk drags it across the fence post toward our party as we all stop chattering and look up, struggle to make sense of the sharp thuds, the fluttering wings, the dead kitten hung from the hawk's claw. That dark mass, impossible as grief, that comes out of nowhere on a sunny afternoon. Oh, I wanted to read my feminist poem, Handmaidens. I'm the grandmother of 5 granddaughters, so I'm a feminist on steroids. And I'm remembering my best friend, my cousin, who lived on a farm, and We'd spend weekends often there. She would come and stay with us. This is for Carol. It's called Handmaidens. After we milked the cows, gathered eggs, and hung the wash, we rode bareback into the meadow of alfalfa, then stormed the woods where the boys had built a tree fort. We scaled the rope stairs to the high branches of a pin oak to challenge them, grunting, cracking our boards against their boards, sweating, cursing. We wanted to prove ourselves in battle, to slay other brave and beautiful warriors who belonged to tribes of nomads. In the regions of Scythia, where the Chinese built the Great Wall to hold us back. Great archers, great riders, beholden to no men, sisters of the battle, companions, we would have gladly died together, buried with our weapons. What is it that compelled us, Carol, to return home and live in disguise, to cook eggs and sausage, then set the table for our male cousins and uncles? We worked as handmaidens, but longed for the late afternoon when we would set out again on our journey, pure of heart and purpose, from the Black Sea to Mongolia, with hand-carved bows and horses we had trained. I remember you, cousin, your spear lifted, your hair tangled. My fear is that I have remained a servant. Now, as I watch my granddaughter reprimanded for interrupting an adult, for not thinking before she speaks, I call forth the spirit of those Amazon girls we once were. I will her to step forward, to answer back. On Saturday nights in Greensburg, when I was 16, my father bought me a convertible. God knows what he was thinking. I got into so many wrecks and accidents. He liked to fix up cars, and he was an optimistic man. He thought the best of people. Saturday nights in Greensburg. We cruised in our miniskirts, my wing girl Linda and I, in our cat-eye sunglasses, puffing on Marlboro lights, radio scream above the street noise, singing till we shrieked. We were all about cars, nothing floral or dreamy, just hard edges and Mopar hubcaps, sharp fins, slant six motors. Mine was a gold Plymouth Valiant with a roll-down top, sleek and crisp. We danced dirty at the Red Rooster nightclub with teased hair and hitched up hems. We picked up older guys and let them take us to the drive-in and order a thick milkshake and a brawny lad steak. Always driving somewhere, to God knows where. God knows, said the nuns. He's always watching. We were looking for a chrome burst of excitement. We loved neon and nighttime, the day long gone, as we shook loose onto the highway for rock and roll joints, racing against that white ball in the sky, sassy, badass, flooring it, knowing we'd never die. So, one thing that Dion and I have in common is our difficult, to say the least, mothers. And I was watching the elimination of this Tucson tree by some porkers, and it led me back to an old memory of conflict with my mother. It's called Sawing the Mesquite. Do we have mesquite trees here? A few, maybe not so much.
I don't think so. Maybe,
We have
yeah.
Mesquite.
Yeah.
Sawing the mesquite. For months, it's been an eyesore, the giant mesquite, missile-choked, dying. When the tree men arrive, buzzing saws tear into the blackened branches and strew blighted leaves and abandoned nests, set perching birds to scatter. I wish I could cast away my own blights as easily. My urge to snap back at my mother's cruel remarks. The day I slapped her when I was a teenager, raging at her question about where I'd been, with whom. The blackened tree leans to the side as it grows smaller. The shape distorted like a tumor shaved by the surgeon's knife. The buzzing, the falling, the carrying away. As if the misshapen twigs and dark wings of yesterday's mistakes could flutter away, the spider webs of nightmares disappear. My angry strikes at my mother tossed into a pile and swept away. The rinse of fresh green emerging. Forgiveness, even though she's gone now, a possibility in the shining air. Okay, another Tucson poem in Old Sonora. So we lived just about 40 miles from the Mexican border, where the Tohono O'odham people lived for 12,000 years in the days before borders and walls. And this one is called In Old Sonora. There's no O'odham word for wall. Only the tall saguaros standing like lovely sentinels with nothing to guard but jumbles of sagebrush, thorny mesquite, the tiny burrows of voles. A cactus wren weeps among steel posts set in concrete where ancestors sleep. The old ones walk back and forth freely from their new homes to visit family in the South. Today, border guards stop families and divide them, take the children to a pen. As the wind keeps blowing back and forth, it remembers the way ancestors walked to their birthplaces to celebrate and to mourn, and then walked back home because there was no wall. There was not even a word for border. Recently, I posted something on a Facebook neighborhood page. I was trying to drag some garbage cans back inside after trash pickup, and this blonde teenage boy, he looked like a surfer dude, with a black t-shirt, and he stopped and said, "Let me help you." He came over, and one by one, he took all the trash cans, rolled them across the driveway, threw the pebbles, opened the door, put them back where they belonged. Then he jumped back on his skateboard and flew away. So I posted this little story, and I got 520 responses within like a few hours. All of these people were like, "Oh, it's so good." People are so hungry for happy stories and for kindness, right? So the next poem is about a very small gesture, a small act that I accomplished in what feels like such a violent world. It's called When the Storm Came Up. When the storm came up, when the wind blew 50 miles an hour, and I gathered cushions and small succulents in tiny pots and brought them inside, while the branches waved wildly and mesquite trees leaned into the eaves and the wind bore a tablecloth into the sky, I picked up a small broken sapling. I had warm shelter, I had soup and milk and bread, while the wind raged, carrying tumbleweed and garbage cans into the street, knocking over anthills, while hospitals filled with new patients and body bags from battle were carried to airplanes. I saved this small tree. I clipped its limbs. I took them to the trash, tied the bare trunk of a sapling around a piece of wood, and made a knot. I watered it. Okay. Ode to Morning is a love poem to Tucson, where we lived 20 years. We didn't think we were desert people, but we absolutely loved Sonora and the Sonoran Desert. Ode to Morning. Find the red flower and the hummingbird hovering. Find the sucking bee inside the tiger-colored blossoms. Don't close your eyes. Find the berry below the leaf. Find the forest and the fox's den hidden beneath a boulder in the forest. Find the stacked stone wall and the tremor inside the wall and all of the tiny insects that thrive there. Find the stray seed that turned into a melon, the first shoot of a pepper pushing up from the mud, a vole burrowed beneath the mass of sun trumpets. If you find the owl perched on the branch, listen and wait. If you hear the frogs, don't move. Soon the coyote will come howling down from the mountain, and the flower will wave, its face on fire with the morning sun. Okay, just a couple more. The title poem, Instructions at Sunset. Instructions at sunset. When the light turns the clouds pink and shadows appear, when meat is burning, when a dog licks its haunches in the dry grass and a bee climbs into the scented rose, you may forget your childhood, forget the grown-ups gossiping and swigging beer, lighting cigarettes. Like someone playing God, call out to the burning bush. Turn and beckon the sun toward its final drop into the charcoal pool of night. Command the moon to come forward. Summon the rest of your life to its feet. And then I'll end with the last poem in the book, which is called Returning to Tucson. Afternoon, the smell of salvia, seed pods of Texas ebony scatter. Saguaros descend the hillside. We will live here until we die, but in the meantime, the lizard will leave his burrow beneath the large white rock, traverse a sandstone patio, climb a stucco wall, and slither into cool shade. All night, the small white toad creeps from beneath a palo verde. Last night, I dreamed of a snake curled inside a boat's prow, dim in the distance, moving away. There's no water here, only sandy soil and rock-faced mountains. Inside the dry hillsides are black springs, the afternoon smell of salvia, dry seed pods of Texas ebony. We will live here until we falter, one spring for each spirit. And when we leave, may it be as jackrabbits leaping the canyon. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you to Joyce for her wonderful organizing of events and all of the good work work that she does to promote poetry. Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you.